So we are going to be talking about state updates in this episode. So what we have here is a countRef. We're importing useRef and useState hooks from React, and we are assigning the countRef variable to useRef. So the idea of how this is set up is we are going to increment the value of countRef every time we click on the increment button. But the problem here is that when you use ref to monitor state, the useRef changes, the value changes, but it does not make or cause React to re-render the component. So as you can see, when we click the increment button, this works. You can see that the count value from the increment function that returns the console log has the value of 1 now. So if we click again, it's now 2. But notice something weird. The count value, the countRef value is not being updated. So why is this? Why are we increasing the countRef value and the countRef.current value is not being updated? So this is because countRef, or using the useRef, does not make React to re-render the component. The value still remains the same, the countRef value remains the same, but it does not make the components to re-render like a useState would. So how do we fix this problem? How do we make sure that it works, the components to behave the way we want to behave, the way we want it to behave? So notice that when I force a re-render, the value of countRef now becomes 3, because when I click on the force render button, this forces React to re-render the component, because we are now working with a useState value, which is render. So how do we fix this? How do we make sure that the count variable, the number here, is updated each time we click on the increment button? So instead of using a useRef, we'll have to use a useState. So useState triggers a re-render when the state changes, ensuring that the updated count is reflected in the UI. So you use useRef only when you need to persist values across renders without triggering re-renders. So how do we fix this? We'll have to create a count variable here, and we'll say set count. We initialize the value to 0. We come over here and say set count function, create an anonymous function that returns the previous function, the previous count value plus 1. So we don't need this anymore. We don't need this as well. So instead of countRef.current, we'll just make it count instead. So we don't need the first render button as well. We can take this one off as well. Remove this as well. We don't need this. So if you notice, let's refresh the page. When we click the increment button, the count value now changes, because we are now using useState, and for every time the state changes using useState, React re-renders the component, thereby changing the value of the count variable to meet the current value